Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Talking Heads is a platform where people from around the world who are experts in their field are invited to be an expert presenter as a talking head. Our expert presenters share their knowledge, their expertise, and their successes and failures in their own 30-minute show to help us grow both personally and professionally. Today's expert presenter talking head is Diann Floyd Boehm. Let's welcome her to the program. Hi, Diann.
Hi, it's great to see you, Dr. Jacqueline.
Nice to see you too. And we miss having you on Talking Heads. It's been a while, so we're excited to have you back. And I'll let you get right into it, and I'll produce the show, and I'll be back afterwards. So
sounds like a plan.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm your host, author Diann Floyd Boehm. Today's lesson is meet the 3 clever S's for communicating successfully. I'm really excited about this one because this was all about things that I personally needed to improve on. It's things that you personally have learned about all through your school education, but things that we need to get even better at if we want to be a successful author. So our objectives today is to learn what I call the 3 S's, what they stand for. So S for self, S for show, and S for yay, success. I've always loved the movie and the musical Peter Pan. I hope this quote inspires you as much as it has inspired me. Are you ready? The moment you doubt whether you can fly, you cease forever to be able to do it. Peter Pan. Again, the moment you doubt whether you can fly, you can cease forever to be able to do it. Peter Pan. So in other words, like you always hear, you have to believe in yourself that you can do it for it to happen. It may not happen as quickly in the time that you want, but what I always like to think of is that, yes, we want things to happen overnight. Yes, we have this great idea. Yes, we want everyone to read our story. Yes, for this, yes, for that. But it doesn't happen. But things happen, as I personally like to believe, when the time is right in the plan, and God decides that plan. So we have to believe in ourselves. And one of the things in being an author is to be able to communicate to our readers. And that's why I've designed the 3 S's for you, because it's things that I personally had to relearn, think about, and I want to share those with you. So the 3 S's in writing, the 3 S's are what I had to learn, as I said before, and I want to help others not make the mistakes that I first made. So S for self. Self. Sound like yourself. Do not write like other authors. Yes, Harry Potter is a great success, but you are not that author. So don't try to write like that author. You will not succeed. You need to have your own voice. By this, I mean you have to be true to yourself. Then you will develop your voice as an author. If you write about what you know, you do not have to research how the character would move or talk because your knowledge is your voice. Now, what do I mean by that? If you write about what you know, it's easy for you to describe what's happening. Therefore, you are being yourself. Have confidence in what you write. Be yourself. So, for example, the setting, where and when the story takes place. If you're writing about what you know, you can easily describe the setting. Let me repeat. Your knowledge is your voice. If you write about what you know, then it's easy for you to explain what is happening. Therefore, you are being true to yourself. Have confidence in what you write. Be yourself. When writing about the characters, how they dress, they talk, how they move, their looks, who they are, their personality, their hair, their eye colors, their accents, their favorite phrases, their perfume or their cologne, this is your knowledge. Your knowledge is your writing power. So let me repeat. If you write about what you know, it is easy for you to describe what is happening. Therefore, be true to yourself. Have confidence in what you write. Be yourself. In the plot, the problems that happen. What is the problem in the plot? How do the characters solve the problem? Note. Now, this is easy. This is not easy to say. You do not ever write about what you don't know because sometimes we have to. So, for example, in my book, Arise, A Girl's Struggle for More, it made Amazon's top recommendation in October of 2021. And I'm now working on the follow-up. It's a historical fiction, which means I had to study the location and the history of the 1920s timeline. I did not live in that time period, obviously. So, therefore, what did I know? Research. And the first book, though, I did know my grandmother. I did know my great grandmother. And I had stories from the family about the other characters that take place in the story. So I had knowledge, and that helped me give my voice. But I had to research because historical fiction, I needed to understand the life of the 1920s, what life was like for my grandmother. I even decided I needed to go back and to study the late 1800s so I could get a better feel of how my grandparents came to be who they were as parents, what they were like when they were growing up. Once I had a feeling for life in their days and how the people spoke, how they dressed, how they got around, the typical what, where, and how questions in their youth, I came to know and understand my grandparents as well as my great grandparents. I came to understand life around them and could begin writing more accurately. So, what did I do? Research. Read, read, read. But I chose not to read stories as I did not want other people's stories to influence my writing. I read facts about the late 1800s and 1925, all the way through 1925. And I learned how people dress. Again, why they dressed the way they did, why they spoke the way they did, their beliefs, the politics, the music, etc. And I kept a journal with thoughts and phrases I came across, and I read newspaper articles. I read advertisements, the cost of living. Oh boy, is there a difference there? the changes of the times. It was actually very fascinating. And all of this research helped me find my voice, to be true to myself. Self. I wrote with my voice and bringing the characters to life. Imagination was the key. As I say to all my young adults and students, embrace imagination. And that is what I want to do with my writings. Once again, let me repeat, if you write about what you know, then it is easy for you to describe what is happening. Therefore, be true to yourself. Have a confidence in what you write. Be yourself. Your knowledge is your writing power. Being true to yourself, you have your true writer's voice. Second S. S for show rather than tell. This is one thing my editor / publisher kept pounding in my brain. I kept telling in my sentence structures. I had to work on my writing. I was always telling the reader what was going on and how to think. I would use so many adjectives to describe things that my editor would keep telling me I was slowing the story down and it was becoming dull. I didn't see the problem. She had to work hard to get me to understand. She had to help me move away from all my adjectives and adverbs, even though you do use them. It's just I use so many of them because I enjoy painting a picture and I want the reader to see the character as I saw the person instead of letting the character come alive in the reader's mind. So, for example, this is telling. Connie Ann is my childhood best friend. I could tell her anything and everything. Show. Connie Ann and I met when we were 4 years old, when she and her family moved down the street from our house. She had 5 sisters and 1 brother. I instantly knew we would be friends, as I had a big family too. So in the first example, I told you they would be besties. In the second example, it gives the reader a better opportunity to decide for themselves about the possible friendship between the 2 girls. And this is showing, not telling. Example 2, tell. A little girl started screaming, "There's a monster under my bed. I won't sleep in my room. I'm scared." So that night, the little girl slept with her parents. Show. The little girl shivered under the covers as she kept hearing whimpering under her bed. Finally, she screamed for her mother, who quickly came in, and the little girl pointed to look under her bed. "Be careful, he might eat you." Her mother heard the sound and reassured her daughter everything would be okay. Then the little girl's mommy said, "Shaggy, come out from under your bed." And sure enough, their new puppy Shaggy came crawling out from under the bed. And the little girl looked bright-eyed at her mommy, and she started to laugh as she told her mommy that she thought a monster was under the bed. Well, the second example let the reader understand the problem the little girl was having, and it enables the reader to be afraid along with the little girl. And once discovering that their new puppy was under the bed, the reader could relax and with the little girl giggle over what was really under her bed. In other words, the reader was able to embrace imagination and go along with the story. Example 3, telling. The little boy played in the yard even though it was frigid outside. Showing. The grass was icy and crackled as he played in the yard and zipped up his coat. In this example, you knew it was cold outside and the boy was cold by the adjectives used instead of stating he was cold. Let me share a couple of examples for some other authors. So here we have Mabel Jones. It's a really fun story by Will Mabbitt. The giant wave, bigger than any that had come before, swept the deck of the ship. All but McMasters and the Crow Nest were covered by water. Just before the ship was swamped, Mabel heard a voice calling. By this description, you knew they were in a storm. The author didn't say, oh, a major storm's coming and there was a big wave. No, you could imagine the storm because of the giant wave coming. Your brain could discover in its own way how it wanted the sky to look like and be. And that is showing. And one more example in a book, Appointed Time by C.J. Peterson. It was intense. Hope could not form a thought or speak a word. The piercing pain started from her mid-back and then screamed around to the front. The sheer velocity in which the contraction hit shocked and stunned her. And by this, you knew that she was going to have a baby. The contraction. The author didn't say, well, it's about time to have a baby. She's going to be having those pains, because that took away your own ability to imagine what that piercing felt like as it swam across to the other side. You may not have even had a baby before, but you could imagine it because the author let you imagine. And that is showing, not telling. And that is the hardest for me, as I stated earlier. So I hope you work really hard on telling. One piece of advice I can share with you is that just write. Don't worry right away if you wrote the perfect sentence, because nobody writes. Even the best authors will tell you they didn't write the perfect sentence the first time around. That's called editing, and that's another Talking Heads program. But it's important for me to share that with you today. Just write. And when you go back to editing, you can ask the question, is this sentence really showing or is it telling? And if it's telling, then obviously you know to work with it and give it more of the ability for the reader to come and enjoy the ride with you in the storyline. Okay, let's go on. We are going to talk about the third one, success. Success, meaning a favorable outcome. We all measure success differently. So, for example, for some people, it is making the bestseller list in the New York Times. And for others, it's all about the money. For me personally, I like to think of success in layers and celebrate each layer of success. And I decided to do this because if I was concentrating on, oh my gosh, I'm always in the red, it would just bog me down, and it might make it where I wasn't like the quote that I gave you earlier with Peter Pan. I couldn't see myself having success because I was always just focused on the end result. So I decided, nope, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to celebrate each layer. And so let's talk about those layers. First, I have a solid idea for a story, and my publisher gives me the green light to move forward. Celebrate. And actually celebrate that you have a publisher. Woo, that's huge. So celebrate. I don't mean to go throw a big party. You could just go celebrate by, doing something you don't normally do. Maybe you go and get a facial. Maybe you just want to take extra time off to go for a nice walk and hear the birds sing because it feels so good and it comforts the soul. Celebrate in ways, teeny tiny little ways that work for you. Second, I finish the story and it goes through the editing phase. Celebrate. Wow, you finished the story. That is massive. You're happy. That is always the hardest thing, especially if you're writing a huge book that you're like, okay, that's it. I did it. And it's ready for the editing phase. Celebrate. 3, once the edits are made, the story goes to the illustrator. Celebrate. Yes. The publisher takes care of the ISBN numbers. That's huge. You don't have to worry about that. But when the publisher says, I have the ISBN numbers for your book, you're like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. Celebrate. Once the art is done, the story and the art, they go together and the design and layout person puts it all together. So what are you doing? You're celebrating that it's going to the person who's going to make the magic to create the book. Celebrate. 6, the publisher shows me the pages of the story to see how and make sure the art and the words match up. And once I give the green light, guess what? The book's ready to go to print. So what are you going to do? That's right. You're going to celebrate. You can't believe it. It's going to happen. 7, marketing begins. Celebrate. So when the publisher says to you, okay, so we're going to have a cover reveal and start sharing with you all these little things, you're like, oh my gosh. And so what do you want to do? You want to celebrate. And remember, just teeny tiny little celebrations. 8, the book hits the stands. It's really happening. That first book comes to you in the mail so you can see it and hold it for the first time. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so what are you going to do? You're going to celebrate. Goodness. 9, when, as an author, you read emails from other readers informing you that they love the book, that their child loves the book, that their teenager loves your young adult book, whomever your reader is that you're writing for, it makes your day and you just want to keep writing. So what are you going to do? You're going to celebrate because remember how you probably thought, okay, I wrote it. Is anyone going to order this book? Is anyone going to read this book? And then you find out, oh my gosh, I'm getting fan mail. And maybe it's not tons of fan mail, but you touched at least one person's life. You made a difference. And that is cause for celebration. And that is cause to keep writing. You, my dear, are on the right track because you made a difference in the world. Finally, 10, signing books and people wanting to share with you how much they enjoyed reading your book. It's an incredible feeling. And I find this to be a great day. Number 9 was all about receiving the email. Number 10 is the same thing, but in the sense that you're seeing the person in life and they came on purpose to see you, to have you sign the book they're about to purchase. And they're sharing with you why they want a copy of this book. And generally, they already have one copy, but they're buying another one because they want it for someone in their family or for a friend. And you just sit there and go, wow, wow. And you thank them. And what do? You celebrate. Each of these 10 stages I have identified is success, and they are to be celebrated. Remember, success is how you define it and what makes you feel accomplished. And that's so important. What makes you feel accomplished in this day and time in the world, whether it is writing your books or anything, just be grateful for the teeny tiny little successes you make, and your heart is going to sing. In closing, those are my 3 S's: self, show, success. I believe the 3 S's enable you to communicate successfully as a writer with your readers. So put to memory S for self, your true voice. S for show, don't tell. Show, let the reader use their imagination. S for success, enjoy each step along the journey and let your reader enjoy the journey with you. It is a great way to communicate and keep the reader involved with you. The reader will celebrate your successes because they are part of your journey. Know your purpose for writing, and your 3 clever S's will have you communicating successfully. I hope this quote that I shared earlier, I'm repeating, empowers you to be a successful writer. The moment you doubt whether you can fly, you cease forever to be able to do it. Peter Pan. So remember, believe in yourself and you will fly. Have a great day and keep those 3 S's close to you. And I'd love to hear your success story so we can celebrate together. See you next time on Talking Heads. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline.
Thank you, Diann. And for people who want to reach you, reach out and contact you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Sure. You can reach me at diannfloydboehm.com, DIANNFLOYD, B as in boy, OEHM.com. I should have said that earlier. I get so carried away when I'm delivering, that I just like, oh yeah, you do want to call me.
That's right. How they reach out to you. No, I thought that was a great presentation. I learned a lot from it, especially from the S for show, because when I think about writing and, other people's work that I've written, when they actually put what's going on, it doesn't leave any room for imagination. And when you describe things the way that you did, I thought, oh, wow, like I could actually envision myself. I felt like I was transported there.
Oh, I'm so glad. But yeah, that is really hard for everyone, that showing and not telling. So I really spent some time on it. I'm glad you appreciated it.
It kind of reminds me of in life when you care about someone, you should show them as opposed to just keep telling them, show them. It really ties in nicely with life lessons. And then for success, I think you hit on so many things, especially getting a publicist, celebrating each little thing. And I wanted to add to that just from a personal experience. So I've had a number of things, thank God, that I've been able to have happen in the last however long, and I'm just by myself. So I just celebrate it in different ways. I might go for a walk. At one time with my second book, I bought myself a piece of jewelry. That's something I could look at and say, wow. So I think it could be anything. You don't have to have a party like you mentioned. You can just find something to do to remember, to acknowledge that specific moment. And then also when you talked about receiving the book, when the book comes in the mail, that's a big deal. You should celebrate that. And then the book signing, I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more for people who are interested in doing book tours or book signings as a way of continuing propelling the success and having other people find out about your work. How do they go about doing that? What's been your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, you mentioned also something. I didn't put celebrate getting a publicist because it took me a long time before I realized authors could even have a publicist. But I also didn't put it in there because maybe it might keep someone from thinking, oh, I can't even afford to lose a dime to go there. So but I'm so glad you mentioned it. When when you have a publicist, they help you get into the bookstores and have book signings. So yay, that makes, you know, that's just worth it completely. But doing it on your own, which I have done for so many years, so I predominantly write children's books, and I have my second young adult historical fiction that I'm working on. So I go into the Barnes and Noble and other small bookstores and ask them. This was before COVID, obviously, but now I'm going back and just introducing myself as a local author, because they really like to hear from the local author, and then letting my publicist know that I've spoken to them. If you don't have a publicist, go in there, introduce yourself, have a card. You need to make sure you have a card that you can give them, and dress professionally, because if you don't dress professionally, they are not going to have you come into the store, because they're not going to have you represent the store if you're dressed sloppy. So don't go in there with your shorts and what you might wear outside in the front yard and go walking or something. Be professional, look like an author, and you're ready to speak to kids and parents. You're ready to step on stage, in other words. And then you can fly. I actually take some books with me. I set so many books aside for marketing. So if I'm going to a different city, a different state, I find out ahead of time different local bookstores, and I make a point to stop in and share with the local bookstores. I give them my card and my book and make a personal appearance, and that makes a difference. Dr. Jacqueline, a lot of the stores don't want to have inventory on their on the bookshelves, because there's so many times people order books for their Kindle and so forth. So especially in the small bookstores, they'll usually make a deal with you that you'll be willing to take the inventory back. Now, I don't make that deal because I don't know what condition that book's going to come back to me in. So those are things you have to look out for. Do you really want to leave your inventory and give them permission for them to mail all those books back? You don't know what condition they're going to be in, because you couldn't turn around and resell them. So that's another little extra tip to your question, Dr. Jacqueline.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I do remember someone published a book and they said that it was in Barnes and Noble, for example, not a paid spokesperson. And I went there to get the book, and they said that this particular branch was not carrying it because there wasn't enough demand. So I'd have to actually go to another state to get it. So I thought that was interesting as well.
That's really strange, because they should have been able to order it online, because most of the bookstores now, even the major ones, don't carry a lot of, especially indie or hybrid authors like myself. You'll see that it's listed in the online, and they're automatically supposed to order it for you. So that was a very interesting thing that happened to you, and it doesn't normally happen.
These things always happen to me, Diann, for some reason.
I think someone was being lazy at that store.
That could definitely be. But that's been a great lesson, and I'm just excited that you keep sharing content that is really relevant, that people can actually take in and use today at this moment.
Thank you so much. I do hope people enjoyed the lesson, and they keep writing, and know that they can always reach out to me and ask me questions. I'm happy to answer them, but do it via email, because I don't answer my telephone unless I know the person.
And we don't have your number up, so that's a good thing. So Diann, as you know, our next show is coming up, and it's the United Kingdom. You and I will be back with our expert correspondents. And then we have the fashion, travel, and fitness show we'll be doing together. And then right after that, we'll be together again for a new show, which is Global Homes and Gardens. And you'll be my guest today, along with Madeline Chan.
I'm really excited. So we each can pretend that we have food that we can share with each other during the breaks.
Definitely. We'll be together for 4 hours today. Yay. And then we'll be back tomorrow for the corner bookstore.
I'm excited. It's great. So everyone, go grab some water and then get back.
We're going to do the same thing. So we're signing off for right now. Diann, if you can give your information for your website again.
Happy to. DiannFloydBoehm.com, DiannFloydBoehm.com. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. I'll see you real soon.
Thank you so much, Diann. Take care. Bye.
Will do. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for watching, whether you're watching on the live or the replay, or you're listening on the radio channel now or later. We're just thrilled to have you. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. And you can also book your session to be a guest on our show. Maybe you're interested in being a co-host, or you're interested in being a talking head, or you're interested in joining our team of expert listeners, or you're interested in being a panelist. Please do reach out. Go over to usaglobaltv.com. You can also listen to our shows on the radio, and you can go to mytuner, TUNER, radio.com. All right. Thanks so much. You stay where you are. I'm going to run over to the other studio, and we'll be back shortly with our next show, which I mentioned is the United Kingdom News and Culture. Bye for now.